Hello, and welcome to Mental Health Matters. I'm your host, Liz Lang. Each week on this podcast, we will break down various aspects of mental health. We are so excited you're here and hope you enjoy this week's episode. Hey guys, Liz Lang here with Jeremiah and Selina Woodruff from Core Connection. And this week we are going to get into helping teens slow down in a fast world. And before we do that, I have this week's parenting moment. And it's a little lighthearted, but it's also kind of sweet. And there is a little hidden nugget in there of, I don't know if you call it parenting wisdom, what have you. So our 6-year-old was watching a show, and in this show, a teenager was turning 18 and going off to college. And so they're talking about like all the emotions with that and the excitement. And he goes, I don't want to go to college. And so I did the whole thing, right? I'm like, oh, okay, so then what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to stay here and be with you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, that's fine. But you might feel differently when you get older. He goes, no, I don't ever want to leave you. And so I just went with it. It was really sweet. And I'm like, I kind of thought to myself, okay, in this moment, what does he actually need? He does not need me trying to convince him that someday he's going to want to grow up and move away from mom and dad. He needs safety and security, and he needs to know that he has a place where he is safe and loved. Because 6-year-olds, they don't have the capacity to comprehend anything outside of their immediate world. And I tried to ask him about it too, like, well, tell me more about it, right? And try to go deeper. And he was just, all he could focus on is, I don't want to leave home. And it even came up again a couple of days ago because we were talking about our oldest graduating high school and going to college. And he's like, I don't ever want to do that. He's like, I don't want to graduate college and leave home. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to. And so it was sweet and it made me smile. And I really loved that moment. And I'm glad I was able to just, not focus on it because, well, a 6-year-old is thinking, I'm going to live with mommy and daddy forever. He's not going to feel that way in 10 years. So, my mind doesn't need to go there. Like in the moment, he just needs safety and security.
Yeah, you don't need to convince him. He'll figure out that he wants to move out all on his own at some point.
Yes, he will. They all do. Or most of them do, I think. Right? Most kids do, but it just, that's the idea is just terrifying to a 6-year-old.
For sure.
Okay, so teaching rest, balance, and emotional regulation. I think as adults, we're all very much aware of this fast-paced world. It's never ending, especially in the age of social media. The news, the comments, the likes, the clicks, the working, everything. It is all 24/7. And it was probably 24/7 even before the age of social media, but I feel like social media has definitely amplified it. And I even felt like I maybe had this when I was in high school 15-ish years ago, between that 15 and 19 years ago, where, it's school, sports, social life, all of those things. It was a lot of homework. It was a lot to keep up with. But now they have cell phones. They feel constant pressure to be in contact with their friends. And then they feel this constant pressure to be on social media and to be keeping up with things. It's this, they feel this need to stay connected 24/7. And some teens slowing down might feel uncomfortable or even scary. So here's an idea. Maybe teens aren't resisting rest. They just don't have access to it. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
I think as parents, we do a great job of overscheduling ourselves. I know I'm guilty of this. Even just take a typical Saturday at our house. I create plans of all the things that I'm going to get done. And I typically plan for more stuff than you could probably complete in 4 Saturdays. I think we do the same thing with our kids and we overschedule them. Like we want them to play this sport and they want to play them too. They want to do different things, but they don't have the concept of time and those kinds of things. So I think it's multifaceted, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. I definitely agree that cell phones are part of that that fast paced life of teens today. You're right. The notifications and the life on social media, it's a big piece for them. It keeps them busy. And that's not to mention their own social lives, their sports that they want to play, the schooling that they're involved in. There's just so much that goes on. And we don't do a very good job of modeling as parents to help kids see like what is the appropriate pace for us to manage our lives.
I think none of us know how to be bored.
Yes.
And that's something I think of often when I have moments that I don't have anything to do per se. I always have things to do, but there's moments that I feel like, oh, I'm not doing something right now. What do I need to be doing? I try to take moments to literally tell myself, how about you practice being bored? It's okay to be bored. We're always constantly trying to fill our time with things, but taking time to just be bored and being okay that we can be bored.
Which is a really interesting concept, because that's something that I've been thinking about lately too, as I've been thinking about this episode, is, this idea of boredom and doing nothing. So I think I don't remember where I heard it, but somebody was talking about how it used to be that like we were sitting and we're waiting at the bus stop, we're waiting at the doctor's office, whatever we're doing. Oftentimes we would use that to sit and reflect and just kind of do nothing. And that has completely disappeared with cell phones, because when we don't have anything else to do, when we're sitting and waiting, what is the first thing everybody does? They pull out their cell phone, right? And I wonder if it was still the same case, I don't know, way back when, right? Before cell phones. And I thought, well, what were people using to fill their time then? And before cell phones, I feel like it was TV. Back in probably like maybe the 50s or 60s, or kind of like when TV became really popular, it was always on. Like, I feel like that is maybe my parents' generation and the generation before, where the TV is just constantly on. No matter what's going on, there's always this TV on. And even before that, I feel like as human beings, we've always found ways to fill our time. We even go back to like maybe the 1800s when we're farming country, right? And we literally have to live off of the land. They were still busy. So, I think as human beings, it's just in our nature to do. And that's a good thing. We should be productive. Like, we want to be productive. I feel like it's just because everything is so automated and so industrialized, we have too much free time. And so we fill it with just stuff that may be less important.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I don't know how busy, some of these different time periods were for folks. But I know today that keeping our kids busy, I don't know that being busy is so much of the problem as how we're staying busy and overscheduling and not having time to rest and to regenerate. I know I've used the excuse, so I'm just going to turn on a show so I can relax. And the reality is that just keeps our brains going. And that's what's happening for kids on their phones. Like, they're not actually resting when they get on their phone. They're feeding dopamine and other things into their brains and creating anxiety because this post didn't get any likes, or, I don't have enough friends, or whatever it looks like. Right. And so I think that it's a multifaceted problem wherein we see kids overscheduled with sports. You look at sports from my generation and, you could play all the different sports in high school and your summers were free. Now, you want to play football in high school? Well, you better start when you're, I don't know, what age is it? 6 or 7? We don't do football, but and you better commit your life to it for the duration of their childhood. And it just keeps them so overscheduled and so tired and exhausted. I don't think it's good for them. I think we need more downtime. And I loved what Selina said. We need to learn how to be bored again. Boredom is where the imagination can step in and play a role for us and for our children, I guess I should say. And it's just a good experience for them. And it's good for their minds to develop and to grow when they have a little bit of downtime.
I like taking it a step further when I was saying bored, but like what you said, and Liz, that using that time to reflect and come up with new ideas and be creative and be okay with being in your own thoughts.
Yeah. So here's a real life example. Maybe a teen comes home and they immediately just sit and scroll for hours on their phone. And parents think, why are they wasting so much time? So what's really going on?
I think often in that situation, it could be a few different things, right? It could be that they have some sort of, desire for the dopamine hit that comes from endless doom scrolling, or it could be them trying to decompress. But like I was saying earlier, like it doesn't actually help them rest. It just leads to other struggles. And I know us as parents, we get that way, right? Like, what are you just sitting around for? You need to be doing something. Get up and do something. But do they really? I don't think they need to be endlessly scrolling. I don't think that's helpful. But I also think it's okay if they just sit down on the couch and take a nap. It's not bad.
Yeah. Or read a book, unplug. So, I think that's really kind of the essence of what we're getting at is, really kind of what Jeremiah said is that it's not that we're busy, it's how we are busy. And, it's so good and it's so healthy for teens and for kids in general to be involved in extracurricular activities. Those are important. But are we giving them time to just be a kid? Are we giving them time to just hang out with their friends? And just hang out that's not involved in a sport. There's a lot of value in that and time to just decompress. And also, are we modeling, right? So much modeling happens. And, this is something that I always have to check myself because I'm guilty of it too, of, pulling out that cell phone and just doom scrolling. And we are modeling that for our kids. And if they see us doing it, when they do get that cell phone, that's what they're going to want to do. That's how they're going to spend their free time because they don't see anybody doing anything else.
Yeah, we do a great job of modeling, whether we like it or not. And what we do really does affect our children. And I know I'm guilty of it. I don't want to just sit there and be bored. And sometimes I'm reading news articles or I'm reading research, or sometimes I'm just scrolling endlessly with nothing if I'm sitting somewhere waiting for something. And our kids see that. And it's definitely something I would like to make some changes for me. But, I think the goal here for us as parents is to create an environment and opportunities for our kids to find ways to rest and to relax that don't include screens and that don't include unhealthy behaviors or actions, but they can take a nap. They can, hey, you know what? Why don't we put that phone down and go do this for a little bit? Why don't we go read a book or go, build a puzzle or go outside and jump on a trampoline or run around at the park or whatever it looks like. And we could do the same kinds of things, right? As parents, we need to probably do a little bit better job of putting our phones down and teaching our kids that we don't always have to have that dumb thing in our hands.
Yep. Yeah.
So I think this concept applies to teens too, and maybe they just aren't as aware or understand. But as an adult, we place our value on the things that we get done. So learning to have value or understanding that your value doesn't come from the things that you get done, that your value is always there. So helping our teens understand and recognize that we don't have to be busy and we don't always have to be doing things to have that value, that it's okay to just rest and recover, enjoy doing nothing, and that our value is still there. Those things that we do don't make us who we are.
I've shared this before, but I used to, and I still do sometimes, I used to judge my entire day based on my productivity, right? So, how much cleaning did I get done is kind of how I would judge the success of my day. And I really started trying to shift that to how much am I connecting? How much time am I focusing on my kids? And it honestly was a huge burden lifted because rather than just being so focused on did I get through the dishes? Did I get through that load of laundry? It's did I spend time with my kids? Did I talk to them? Did I teach them something? Was I engaging with them or even with Curtis, right? And so there's a lot of value in helping model that piece for our kids and helping our kids to see that, so like, let's say your kid just says, I just want a day to do nothing. And you're thinking, well, that's a waste of time. But is it? Is it a waste of time? So how can we reframe that?
Oh, my brain is screaming right now at you because that is something I really struggle with. I'm still working on what you're talking about of valuing what I get done and always wanting to get things done. So if a teenager or somebody else in my household wants to not do anything, that's something that's really hard for me to accept and to watch. But I think it's just really coming back to yourself and understanding, who do I want to be? I can't control other people, and they get to make those choices of how they want to spend their time. It doesn't make them good or bad. And yeah, I think it's probably more important to allow them to learn and grow and have that opportunity to make those choices for themselves than trying to control what they're going to spend their time doing.
Well, I think maybe, and I love what Selina's saying, but I think to maybe reframe that statement, if your kid is saying, I just want a day to do nothing, I wonder if what they're really saying is, I'm overwhelmed, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I don't have any free time. And so here's an opportunity to maybe ask some questions of our children, especially our teenagers. What actually helps you feel recharged? Or what is draining you the most? And here we can have some conversation about schedule and what's actually happening for our children that's causing them to feel like, I just want a day to do nothing. Are we overscheduling them? Do we have them in dance and in volleyball and in tennis, and it's just too much, right? And do we say, maybe we need to cut something out?
Yeah. So, that's a good point. Like, a kid comes to you and says, I'm so stressed, but I can't quit anything. And your initial response might be, you signed up for it, so now you got to deal with it. And, to an extent, you're right. They did sign up for it, but there's a better way to go about it. And it's not that you just let them quit when things get hard, but how do we, maybe help them navigate that rather than just suck it up, buttercup?
Yeah, I think that what we're doing here is sitting down with them and having conversation that says things like, let's see what's really going on for you. What's really sustainable in the world of your activities and your desires and your hobbies. And we have to really be honest with ourselves as parents. And maybe, just maybe, we're the ones who have encouraged and overscheduled and signed them up for more than what they should be handling, when we should have been the one going, I'm the adult here, and as a parent, I'm seeing that you want to play baseball and soccer and do dance and, be in this club, and it's way more than you could possibly handle on a day-to-day basis. So what can we actually accomplish and what's most important?
Yeah, I think that's great. And then, helping kids to understand that sometimes you are going to feel overwhelmed too, I think is another valuable component, because even as adults, there are times in life where it just piles up and there's nothing you can do, right? And so helping them to see, you've got a lot on your plate right now. And yeah, this feels overwhelming, and it is overwhelming, and it's okay that you're feeling overwhelmed. How can I help you get through this difficult time? And then we can talk about, maybe we just take a sports season, and we don't do any sports, right? Or maybe, you block out the summer and you don't do any summer sports, no summer activities, right? Like kind of minimal summer activities, and just try to focus on going outside more, going for walks, right? There's all sorts of little things that we can do. Maybe you guys go camping or something and nobody brings a cell phone. or there's one cell phone in case of emergency and it stays tucked away somewhere where, nobody can access it unless there's an emergency, and just see what happens. Those are all great ways to kind of rest, reset, and just unplug.
Yeah, whatever that looks like for your family. I mean, there's a billion different ideas and ways that we can go about it. I think the point is that we need to be paying attention to our children and looking for those signs of being, maybe a little bit burned out or overscheduled or exhausted and needing a little bit of rest. And that's what we're really shooting for. And once we understand that, then we can kind of move through this process of how do we get rest? How do we recharge? How do we rejuvenate our minds and our bodies and our spirits to be able to continue moving forward in a productive and healthy way?
Yeah. So there's an old adage that I think fits in here, and that's if you don't take time to rest, you're going to make time to be sick. So maybe it's a good time to talk about what it does to the central nervous system when you are just constantly go, 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 and the impact that can have on our lives as adults, but also as teens. Because as adults too, I feel like we're a little bit more used to it because we've kind of slowly built it up. Or is it just the same for teens as it is for adults? What are your guys' thoughts there?
I don't know if it's the same or different. Maybe we're just better at managing it, and we're better at dealing with it than a teenager has the capacity to do. But it certainly can take a toll on us. We know that, prolonged stress increases cortisol in the body, and that's not good for us. And that could lead to heart problems and weight gain. And of course, that's as adults, not so much as kids. So in our teens, we're going to have an impact on their nervous system. We're going to see higher anxiety, emotional dysregulation. They're going to have more difficult time focusing. They're going to be more irritable, more on edge. They're going to be tired, but they're not able to rest. Those kinds of things can take a pretty heavy toll on a child. And then, I think there's a greater potential to see mental health breakdowns and this overwhelming feeling of not being able to succeed. I think it's dangerous in the sense of if we overschedule our children and we expect too much of them and they're involved in too many things, I think it can take a toll on their confidence as well. Because if they're doing too much, they're not going to succeed at anything. And so when they stop succeeding, then the confidence starts to decline and we see other issues. So there's a whole plethora of things I think that can be potentially problematic when kids are overscheduled or just running too fast and with too much.
I would say that in adults, maybe it just comes with experience over time, learning from different situations and scenarios that you're in, and hopefully you learn what you do and don't want to do. So if you're going to ask what's the difference or if it's different, that would be my guess, is just experience or tools that we've learned over time. So what a great opportunity to teach our kids. And I'm thinking, we're focusing a lot on us overscheduling our kids, but sometimes it's just life, even just them not scheduled with anything and just going to school, because we can't change that per se, but them going to school and some kids, it's just overwhelming what they're dealing with in school and life and friends, and even if they don't have extracurricular things. So whether you schedule your kids with lots of things, because sometimes as parents, we do enjoy that and we do want to give our kids those opportunities, or whether it's just normal life, it's great opportunities for them to learn how to take a break, how to prioritize, how to realize what they're experiencing and be able to communicate and name that emotion and communicate what they're experiencing. Because sometimes we just need to feel that emotion. Sometimes we're feeling very overstimulated and it's like, hey, I just need to feel this emotion for 90 seconds and realize that I'm just overwhelmed. And then you can pick back up and keep going and keep moving in the direction that you want or need to do. So I think it's just experience and learning those tools and recognizing yourself and your body and how and what it can handle.
I appreciate that Selina brought that up, because it is important to remember that life is stressful, and sometimes we are going to be overdone, and we're going to run out of that space. And so she did share, some of the tools that we can use to regulate ourselves, and share those with our children, and learning to step away for a moment, and learning to use breathing exercises, meditation, or whatever it is that works for you, to be able to get to a place where you can regulate that and then pick back up and keep going forward.
And it is great modeling to verbalize this to kids, right? So when you are feeling that overwhelmed and you do need to just take that 90 seconds to process, it is so healthy for kids to see and to hear mom or dad say, okay, time out, everybody. I am feeling so overwhelmed right now. I just need a few minutes to gather myself. So unless somebody is dying or the house is on fire, leave me alone for X amount of time, right? And, kids, that will be so good for them. And again, you're modeling, and they will learn that. And they can say, hey, I am feeling so overwhelmed by just the noise and the chaos of the house right now. Can I just have 2 minutes to myself to go just be peace and quiet somewhere, right? Bathroom breaks don't count, by the way. When parents try to use bathroom or say bathroom is my self-care time, no, it's not. You're using the bathroom. That's self-maintenance, not self-care. But, again, so there's so much that we can do to model this piece right now. And, this reminds me of a while ago when we did self-care. We talked about self-care for parents. That's not selfishness. It's not saying me first. It's saying me too, right? So it's saying I have needs, I have emotions, and I'm going to meet them because it makes me be a better person. I can show up and be a better parent when I am regulated.
Yeah. Again, that self-care piece for parents is like you were saying, Liz, it's just modeling for children. They need self-care too. They need to take care of themselves, and they need a break from the stress. And it's actually one of the reasons why, and I realize this is an elementary school thing, not a teenager thing, but I think one of the reasons why I struggle with all the changes that we've made in school and taking out recesses is because kids need a minute to go run around and get out of that structured classroom. It's not good for them to sit there all day long and sit there and be quiet and do what you're told. Like, it's just not a great environment. I don't love it. I'm a big advocate for recess and social time for children, whether that's in the lunchroom or wherever on the playground. Those are important things. And we can do that same thing at home and allow our kids, like, go outside and run around, go play, go take care of yourself, go sit in the corner and read a book for an hour, and forget about the upcoming dance competition or the upcoming track meet or whatever it is that you're involved in. Go do something else for just a little bit and take care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, talk on the phone rather than texting your friend or, trying to keep up with all these notifications. Call somebody. Call and talk to somebody. Call grandma. How many grandmas would love to hear from their grandparent? Especially if you guys live in different states. I think that's a great way to just de-stress, right? Or some relative or some family member that you don't get to see as often. I think that's a great way to, again, build that connection with this extended relative, and a great way to, you're not completely unplugged, because I realize you are still using technology, but that is such a positive way to use technology. Man, I think calling grandma is probably one of the best uses for that darn cell phone. So tell your kid to do that instead of scrolling on Facebook.
I'm a grandma. I say yes. I approve that message you're sending out. Call your grandma.
Right? Yeah. FaceTime works too. You can do FaceTime. I feel like that's also acceptable as well. But yeah. Okay. So, final thoughts.
I think my final thoughts on this is really that our children are probably watching us, and they don't really understand how to rest and how to take a break. And I'm not suggesting that they're always resting, right? I think it's good for kids to be busy and engaged.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's good to be over scheduled. I don't think it's good to spend too much time on a phone, especially for teenagers. So we've got to teach it. They have to learn it, and we have to teach it as parents. We got to model that. We get to teach balance, and we get to explore balance with them, especially when they're feeling overwhelmed. I think it's a great opportunity for connection to sit down with a kid that's feeling overwhelmed and say, hey, let's look at this. Where are you at? What do you have going on? And how can we find balance together in a way where you feel comfortable and you still get to do the things that are most important to you?
I would say this is good opportunities, again, like he said, for connection, understanding your kid and helping your kid to understand themselves and to be able to learn from that and to build that resilience and long-term well-being as they're trying to figure out life and trying to learn from these experiences and use them as an opportunity to help learn that. And just finding time as a family of when can we slow down? What is our time? How does that look? What do we do to slow down, to rest, relax, reset, and connect again? Those are good opportunities to find that time.
Yeah. In a world that constantly pushes teens to go faster, one of the greatest gifts parents can give is teaching them how and when to slow down. And I particularly like that when component because as we talked about, sometimes life just gets busy, and it is important to help our teens cope with that. But, it's also important to teach them how to slow down. Okay, we will see you all next week. Have a question? How about a topic you'd like us to cover? Send us an email at mentalhealthpod21@gmail.com.